Today, we're getting into the life and legacy of Amar Gopal Bose. You know, the scientist, engineer, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
His work really changed how millions of us experience sound. Living rooms, airplanes, you name it.
Absolutely. That's really our mission today, isn't it? To sort of unpack the sources and understand how Bose built this, massive audio empire. And what's so interesting, I think, is that it wasn't just about technical skill. It was this unique focus on, human perception, psychoacoustics, plus this incredible commitment to excellence, even tackling things everyone else thought were, frankly, impossible.
Yeah, that really comes through. And you see that drive in his core philosophy. It wasn't just, can I do this job? It was always, how can I do this job better?
Yeah.
Like better than it has ever been done before. That's a different level entirely.
Definitely a disruptor mindset. And to get where that comes from, you kind of have to look at his beginnings. Amar Bose, born 1929, Philadelphia. And the family background itself is, pretty compelling, sets a certain tone.
It really does. His father, Amar Gopal Bose, a Bengali Indian independence activist, had to actually flee Bengal back in the 1920s, escaping the British colonial police. I mean, that's quite a start.
It absolutely is. Talk about resilience and, sticking to your principles being baked in early on. His mother, Charlotte Macklin, she was an American school teacher, French and German ancestry. So you have this mix, global perspective, political struggle, definitely a focus on education in that household.
And that entrepreneurial spark, it showed up really early, didn't it? The sources say it's just 13. This is during World War II. He starts a little business with school friends, fixing model trains, home radios, basically helping supplement the family income. That hands-on electronics thing was there from the get-go.
Oh, for sure. And that practical skill led him pretty directly to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Got his Bachelor of Science there, electrical engineering. But his learning wasn't just, confined to Cambridge. He did some time internationally, too. A year at Philips Labs in the Netherlands, and then a year as a Fulbright scholar in New Delhi, India, which is significant, right? That's where he met his future wife.
Okay. And then back to MIT for the PhD, also electrical engineering. His thesis was on nonlinear systems, supervised by some heavy hitters, Norbert Wiener, Yukwing Lee. So a really deep academic grounding before any products were even conceived.
Exactly. He had the serious foundation in complex systems. And right after the PhD, he joins the MIT faculty, assistant professor. And this is where we hit that really pivotal moment, the famous disappointment.
The story that launched everything, basically. So it's 1956. Professor Bose decides to buy a high-end stereo system, top of the line for its time, gets it home, sets it up, listens. And he's just disappointed. You said the specs, the technical measurements look perfect, low distortion, flat frequency response, all that. But the sound, it just didn't capture the feeling, the reality of a live performance.
Right. It's that gap between the numbers on the page and the actual human experience of listening. And that disappointment, it was so profound for him, it made him just toss out the conventional thinking. His research then zeroed in on why those high-end systems failed, why they didn't reproduce the sound field correctly.
So wait, if the measurements said the speaker was perfect, was he essentially saying the measurements themselves were wrong? Or at least incomplete?
Yeah.
That they were missing the point?
That's exactly it. He realized in a concert hall, most of the sound you hear isn't coming directly from the stage. It's bouncing off the walls, the ceiling, the floor. It's overwhelmingly reflected sound. So what he designed was a speaker meant to recreate that dominantly reflected sound field, but, in your living room. And focusing on psychoacoustics, how our brains actually perceive sound instead of just raw specs, that was revolutionary. It became the company's whole identity, really.
That is a huge shift in thinking. And once he made that leap, focusing on perception, he started applying it way beyond just home speakers, right? He really did seem committed to tackling problems others just, waved off as too hard.
Totally. That high-risk, high-reward thing became deeply embedded in the company culture he built.
Just look at the noise-canceling headphones. That wasn't about making music louder or clearer in the traditional sense. His insight was, the real innovation is getting rid of the noise you don't want. Eliminating distractions.
Yeah, allowing the listener to actually focus.
And that led to the first commercial noise-canceling headphones, which, completely changed air travel, didn't it? And offices, too.
Fundamentally. And then there was Project Sound, which, talk about audacious, had nothing to do with playing music at all. Starting in the 80s, his team began working on an electromagnetic replacement for car shock absorbers.
A car suspension, using magnets and computer controls. Wow. That sounds incredibly ambitious for the time. What was the big idea there?
The goal was this kind of impossible combination, a car that could handle sharply, like a sports car, but also ride smoothly, comfortably, like a big luxury sedan, using control systems to adjust the suspension way faster than any mechanical part could.
Okay, and this leads to that great story about his attitude towards difficult problems.
Right, so the story goes, one of the lead engineers goes to Bose, clearly struggling with the suspension project, and he says something like, "You know, Dr. Bose, this is really, really hard."
Which apparently was engineer code for.
This is impossible, we should probably give up.
Okay, and Bose's reaction?
Just good. The engineer was confused, naturally, so Bose explains, "Good, because when we solve it, we'll have something really valuable."
Wow.
That sums it up, doesn't it? The difficulty was the opportunity. And apparently, when they finally demoed it years later, the difference in ride quality was just astonishing. Vindicated that whole long-term bet.
That commitment to the long game, to education too, it ties right into his connection with MIT and the, let's say, unusual way he structured the business.
Yeah, it's crucial to remember, even as the Bose Corporation grew huge, he stayed on as an MIT professor until 2001. And his impact there was significant. He won teaching awards, like the Baker Teaching Award early on. And later, they actually established 2 teaching awards in his name, the Bose Award and the Junior Bose Award. Clearly valued education highly.
You see that legacy in his students, too. Alan Oppenheim himself, a huge figure in signal processing, was one of Bose's PhD students. Oppenheim dedicated a book to him, praising his incredibly high standards, not just in research or teaching, but, like, in life.
That sets a high bar. Now, about the business side. Amar Bose never took the company public, and that was a very deliberate choice. Keeping it private meant they could fund that risky long-term research, things like the suspension project. Stuff that a public company always worried about the next quarter's results might just kill off as too slow or uncertain.
Makes sense. And that private company grew quite large. By 2016, employing, nearly 12,000 people globally? Across home audio, car audio, professional systems. But then came that final, really extraordinary move in 2011, the donation.
Yeah, truly remarkable act of philanthropy. He donated the majority of the company's the non-voting shares back to MIT, his alma mater, his academic home, but with a very specific condition: MIT could never sell those shares.
Which is brilliant when you think about it. MIT gets the financial benefit, the dividends, the profits, basically forever. But because they're non-voting shares, the university has zero say in how the Bose Corporation is run, its operations, its research direction. It completely shields the company's unique culture from both Wall Street pressures and academic committee interference. Genius, really.
And it lines up perfectly with how he described his own creative process. Bose often said his best ideas didn't come from step-by-step logical thinking. They came in a flash, an intuitive idea. His vision for the company wasn't just to make products, but to create a place where employees could chase their own dreams, fueled by that kind of intuition and discovery.
That reliance on intuition, protected by that private structure, help him keep pushing boundaries. Amar Bose's story, it really feels like a lesson that, real innovation needs that passion, that grit you get from deep-seated ideals. And maybe most importantly, the courage to question the numbers, the specs, and focus instead on the actual, messy, subjective human experience.
It does leave you with a fascinating tension, though. Here's a guy who says his best ideas were intuitive flashes, not rational deduction. And he deliberately built walls around his company to protect long-term, high-risk research from short-term financial demands. So how does that model challenge today's world where, so often business, every R&D project has to show a clear, immediate path to profit? It makes you wonder, have we maybe become too focused on the spreadsheet and lost a bit of faith in the power of that intuitive leap? Something to think about.
Better implies different. Okay, it's impossible to do anything or to make anything better unless you do it differently. Clear, okay? Not the other way around, okay? The arrow doesn't go backwards. Now, it's the different that implies courage. When something's different, it's a heck of a gamble. And so, if better implies different and different implies courage, better implies courage. You have to have the courage to be different. You can never do anything better unless it's different. That is an impossibility.